Hey guys, this is Fernando doing another video for Modern Survivalists. In this case, doing one of those longer videos that some of you guys really like, a couple of you don't like as much. Keep in mind I only do these longer videos when I feel there's a need for it, if that gives you any peace of mind. So please bear with me. I do these when I feel there's going to be a need for it. I do these videos when I feel that sooner rather than later you're going to be needing this kind of information. The topic is, of course, home security. And I find that there's lots of things that aren't nearly as accurate as they probably should be. So that's why I'm doing this. I don't know, maybe the misunderstanding is because of lack of real first-hand experience with this sort of thing. Also lack of proper research, because, I mean, guys, the information is out there. If you actually put some time into it and do proper research rather than just, babbling about a topic that you don't quite get. If you do the research, the information is out there. It's not as if any of this is a big secret. But it's one of those mostly misunderstood topics. Whenever you talk about home security, especially guys that like guns, such as myself, we'll start talking about, yeah, I'm ready for home security. I'm pretty set in terms of home security because I have my guns. I have my Glock, I have my AR, or my AK with a collapsible with a collapsible stock. Don't get me wrong, I love guns more than the average guy, I suppose. I know how to use them. I get it. It's really a small percentage of the deal of home security. Actually, in many cases, you're not going to be even home when this happens. And actually, in many cases, these are the first things that criminals will be stealing from you. I've read more than enough times about guys with lots of nice guns losing them in home robberies, in home invasions. So honestly, it's less cool than it actually would seem at first. Now, the first thing you have to understand is this one, the kind of threat level that you're likely to face. It's not all the same. The reality is that in developed countries, it's much safer than in third world countries. The standards of security are, of course, very different. If you compare what I'm used to in Buenos Aires, where crime is a big deal, a big problem, and a house without proper security for the kind of threat likely to happen there, the house that lacks those is going to be suffering the consequences. The average American house from the average American suburb wouldn't last a week in Buenos Aires without being robbed. It's just the way it is. The kind of threat is different. If you drive around and I know there's tougher places, in more dangerous parts of the town and such, or dangerous communities. In US, they have the storm door or whatever, with a grating door, metal doors, and burglar bars and windows. Now, that's not like standard for 90% of the houses in US. Most cases, average middle-class community is going to be something like this. A house that has a door that has probably a little glass window in there, no burglar bars and windows whatsoever, and maybe a back door that's open half of the time. I mean, maybe the front door is open most of the day. That's the kind of thing you just don't get away with in more dangerous places. Now, as I was saying before, I think that these things are likely to change in the near future. I think that, it's not just that I think, I actually get lots of email from people through my blog telling me, you talked about this and that, and this is happening now in my neighborhood. The break-ins, or even people telling me that they suffer it themselves, the home invasions, break-ins. It's going to be happening more and more, and it's much better if you do this properly. So first of all, understanding the kind of threat level you're likely to face. If this is the standard for your community, then there's a good chance that the threat in your community in terms of home invasion isn't that great. Now, that doesn't mean that you should just sit there waiting and hoping nothing happens. What you can do actually is just by increasing a little bit your level of security, you're going to be improving your odds much more. The average thief, burglar, it's going to be prowling around, checking out the different houses, and your house being slightly more secure than the ones from your neighbors is already going to be giving you the edge. This guy, think as a criminal for a second. He's going to be looking for the easiest target. Now, in a neighborhood where most houses look alike and the income seems to be pretty much the same, you're going to be looking for the house that's most easy to break in. There are cases where, in dangerous places where people get kidnapped and such, talking about something else. In this case, the average prowler looking for for an easy pick, it's going to be looking for the easiest house to break into. That means that a little bit of security will go definitely a long way. So here are a few things that you can do as of right away. Doors. 80% of the break-ins happen through the door. People either leaving it open altogether or having doors that are extremely easy to get through. Keep in mind, guys, that also we're talking about doors. Keep in mind, going to be the invisible points on the other side. You have the back door. If you're a criminal, it's very easy to walk around the house. Take your time opening the back door that is generally not as solid as the first one, which in many cases isn't to begin with, or it's maybe even a glass door that just slides open. Happens a lot. That's the kind of thing that you see. Improving those is going to be going a long way. Start with a lock. If you have a lock that it's not bump proof or snap proof, change it right away. It's generally a matter of a few minutes and less than $100 buying a proper lock for your door. Getting a good lock for your front door and your back door, that's going to be bumping up your security level quite a bit. Okay, then in terms of windows, you cannot have a window that just can be slid open or just forced with a screwdriver. The tools used by most criminals, guys, big screwdriver and a pry bar. With that, they open 99% of the doors and windows they are going after. Make that as hard as possible. And always keep in mind, no house is completely crime proof. If a criminal wants in, he's going to be finding a way. Just remember, your house has to be less appealing and less easy to break into than the guy next door. Once you take a good look at your doors and windows and see what you can do about that, improving them, installing better locks and such, really think about putting an alarm system. This is going to be a huge improvement in terms of your security. There's no need for the latest, most expensive alarm system. Generally, it's a matter of deterrent. You will have like a little alarm system there, the little syringe on the outside, with maybe a security, an alarm logo from the firm or whatever. And in many cases, this is just a decoy, and the other one is hitting somewhere else, and it maybe goes along with another alarm on the inside. Again, it's just one more thing that the guy is going to be seeing that makes him look for an easier target. Then in terms of lighting, you will want to have motion activated lights, especially on the back of the house, where there's a greater chance of the guy just going around there and breaking in there, and also in the front of your house as well. Having 1, 2, 3, 4, generally that's the case. Covering your blind spots where a criminal will feel more protected in the darkness, doing his job. Try focusing on the weaker points. For example, in this house, if we have a window on this side, and this is a little bit darker because of the position of the sunlight, then cover this with a motion activated light so that it floods all this area with light when the guys try to break in. Finally, a dog is going to be doing a lot for you in terms of home security. Just a dog that barks. Criminals, guys, they don't like dogs. I mentioned that in one of my previous videos. It's not just me saying it. It's an actual fact. If you read books on home security, home invasions, and you read reports from police and such, and what actually criminals themselves have to say, they just don't like dealing with dogs, and understandably so. A dog barks, makes noise, attracts attention, may even bite. So it's the kind of thing you try to avoid as much as you can. Then notice how I draw all these little bushes and things. In general, it's recommended not to have that many of these. And the more you have, make sure that they're not at least providing cover for someone trying to break into your house. If I have a window here and I have all this bush covering, a guy can take his time here trying to break through this window with the protection of all this bush covering him. Place it in a location that is not providing cover for someone. Right? Same here. If there's a prowler or someone spying on you, if you have this covering it, see what you can do about it. Maybe keeping it a little bit low. be smart about this stuff, guys. Maybe you have a patch of flowers here or whatever, and you have an overgrown bush. Maybe you just cut that a little bit and put something else, some other lower plants, some flowers that aren't as high and don't provide a cover for a potential criminal. Don't leave anything, like ladders on the side of the house from projects you've been working on and you just forgot it there. Especially not if you have easily broken into windows on the first level. It's just simply a matter of picking the tools you already left and breaking in. Criminals, in many cases, use the same tools you left around the garden. Maybe a shovel, something else so as to pry its way in or break its way in. Keep that in mind. Keep all those as secured as possible. In terms of your windows and such, you really should have curtains covering all the stuff that a criminal would be looking forward to. If you have a fancy TV or sound system or whatever, keep that in mind and have your curtains covering that. There's also when these guys are walking around and seeing what's going on, if you have a couple of lights which are randomly activated on the inside. They sell them in supermarkets and such, little timers. Some of them have the time, some of them have both the time and a random function. That random function is pretty neat because it's gonna be, it's gonna be changing the days in which the time, the exact time in which it turns on, and it's gonna be confusing someone doing a little bit of intelligence on the outside. In general, guys, the criminal going outside sees suddenly a light that turns on. He's not going to be doing that kind of work for a month and seeing, oh, he has a device because it always turns on at the same time. But just in case, it's a little device, and it's really not that much of a difference in terms of price. It's going to be activating those lights at a random setup. That's another thing you can do so as to improve your home security. The garage door is, in some cases, it's not even locked whatsoever, so it's just a matter of pushing them up, or just very easy to break into as well. Keep that in mind as well. It's not as nearly as common entry point if it's locked as windows and doors are, but still it is an access point that criminals will may be going for. And finally, keep in mind, guys, that all this only works along with the proper mindset. All right. If you have all these things going on and you just keep forgetting the front door open all the time, really not a good, not the point. If you have all this stuff going on and you tell everyone that you know that you're going to be leaving town for the weekend, is also not going to be working towards your security. It happens a lot. People open their mouths, yeah, we're going to be going to to Mexico for a couple of weeks. No one's in the house, do whatever you want. That kind of thing gets around and they quickly notice. Don't leave any signs out there telling the mailman or friends, hey, we're not home, we're going to be coming back next week. That kind of thing goes without saying, of course. But none of this works if you don't have the proper mindset to keep all this in mind, to actually engage all these systems. All right, folks. And the part about guns and such, it's a really small part of the equation of home security. All these other things that I was talking about will do much more to improve your home security and reduce significantly the chances of someone breaking into and causing you quite a bit of anguish and problems. So basically, guys, that's it. Remember to subscribe if you're liking these videos. Take care. Have a great day.